G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. And as you can see, I'm at a very, very special place today. I'm at the Icebergs Club, which is just situated above the Icebergs Ocean Pool. And I'm just going to have some lunch by myself and enjoy the beautiful, beautiful sunshine on this winter's day. It's mild, just a little bit of a breeze, but we've got some glass here in front of us, which is keeping that breeze at bay. And I thought I'd go through and just talk about a book summary while I'm waiting for my salmon to get cooked. So the book that I'm going to go through today is entitled The Great Escape by Angus Deaton, and it's a book which talks about how the world today is a much, much better place than what it's ever been before, and a lot of people live better now than at any other point in the history of mankind. But the other point that the author also makes is that whilst there are many people who are much, much better off these days than what they've ever been before, there are also a lot of people who still aren't benefiting from the breakthroughs and the benefits that the majority of the world is experiencing as we speak. So what the author does is they take us on a bit of a journey where they talk about how life once was and how it is today, just to position it, and then we finish off with a couple of calls to action. So what the author here reminds us of and informs us on is that in the 18th century, life expectancy for most people was only about 35 years of age, because most people would lose their life to disease, and most of the world lived in poverty. And of course, much has changed. So much so that a working class or a middle class person living today is probably living the lifestyle of a king or a queen from centuries ago. So the author then goes on to say that in the year 2021 that we're in today, believe it or not, we all live with many more conveniences and a lot more free time than what people lived with years ago. There has never been, and this is a big point that the author makes, and I love this point because it's a positive point and a powerful point, that there's never been a time in the history of mankind that it's been, exciting and worthwhile to be alive. But as we said, most improvements are available to most people. But a lot of the big improvements have not been equally distributed for people around the world. It's only when you travel, it's only when you get on a plane and travel internationally that you realise that there are some countries that don't quite have all the benefits that we have here in Australia. And to realise that there are still over 1 billion people who still live in poverty. And we have to look at the history of poverty just to understand it a little bit better. Even though China, this is one of the biggest success stories of the century, that over the past 30 years, China's been able to lift 700 million people out of poverty and put them into working classes and middle classes, people who are able to, dream about owning things that they never thought that they'd be able to do as early as 20 or 30 years ago. So let's go back in time And what the author says here is that our ancestors didn't live as long or as well as we do now. Back in the early times when we were hunters and gatherers, most people lived a full life, which would have gotten them to about 40 years of age. They were lucky because they had nutritious food and not much disease risk, because they always were on the move, and that they ate foods that were probably more nutritious, I guess, than a lot of the foods that we have these days, which are full of sugars and are fully processed. And then what we did was mankind went on to experience a Neolithic revolution where agriculture and domesticated animals came into the picture. But what happened was, with urbanisation, with domestication of animals, with the grouping of people together in closer quarters, and with the lack of movement, what happened was that diseases emerged which decreased our mortality. So the whole concept of urbanisation brought with it diseases, and the diseases were facilitated by the fact that food and feces were held closer together. So we weren't able to maintain a hygiene that the hunter and gatherers would have enjoyed in their lifetimes. So these diseases led to epidemics. So mankind, during this Neolithic revolution, where we became domesticated and our animals and lifestyles were more sedentary and domesticated with the agricultural evolution, what we found was that we were subjected to disease, drought, famine, and all of those challenges which impacted, as I said, and caused us to live less longer lives than previously. So this lasted for about 250 years, but in the last, it lasted for, up until about 250 years ago. So in the last 250 years, according to the author, our lifespans have increased because of political, economic, scientific and societal advancements. In the last 100 years, for example, age expectancy has increased by 30 years, and the wealthy countries have been able to enjoy a better lifestyle, according to this author, and decreased child mortality. Because centuries ago, a third of the children didn't make it to 5. So just let me go and get my meal very, very quickly. I'll come back out and I'll continue videoing. Just bear with me. Here we go. There you go. A nice, healthy lunch, as healthy as it can be. Fish, vegetables, and salad. So I'll continue my book summary here. So what we're basically saying, so now people can expect to live longer lives and better lives because of improved sanitation, improved disease prevention. But what we mustn't ever forget, and this is the point that the author tries to raise to our attention, is that within each community, within each company, within each country, and specific countries as well, there's always going to be an element, a number of people who are missing out, the ones who are not going to be beneficiaries, not being able to inherit the benefits of improved sanitation and disease prevention. And I think that we've all seen it. We've all been put on guard with this COVID-19 pandemic, where it's shown us, all of us, how vulnerable we are and how vulnerable we can be leading into the future. But thank God that we have the technology, the science, the ability to fight these pandemics with vaccines, with medical breakthroughs. And who would have expected a year, in just 1 year, that we can have 5 or 6 or more independently created, developed vaccines that can protect us, that can provide our bodies with a blueprint to be able to identify the virus and to enable our immune systems to manage it as best as possible, so that we reduce the chances of us getting it seriously and dying, and also reduce the chances of us passing it on to others as well. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. As I said, I'm up here at Bondi Icebergs at the club, and I'm enjoying a lunch for one on this beautiful, most magnificent winter's day. It is warm today as what it would be on a summer's day. I reckon it's probably over 20 degrees. The sun is just in my face. This morning unfiltered sun is just glorious, so nurturing, so nutritious. As I said, I'm going to have a lunch of fish, vegetables and salad, and I might have a mineral water as well. But what better way to enjoy a Wednesday, a hump day, than to come down to the beach and just spend an hour or two in this environment and making the most of this beautiful day. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's be the wind beneath our wings, and let's take every opportunity that we can to live, learn and pass it on. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.